Now obviously with some players taking certain things too far, they deserve to get ejected. But when a player gets ejected for laughing on the bench, you know the refs are just being petty. That's not even the worst of it. Players around the league have come up with rituals, handshakes, and celebrations that have gone viral. But a gesture by Tristan Thompson apparently went too far. The age-old sporty butt slap is a move used by a lot of teams as generally a friendly gesture. So it would be hard to think of a scenario where an NBA player would be ejected for it. But that happened recently with Tristan Thompson in a matchup between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Memphis Grizzlies. Former teammates Jay Crowder and Tristan Thompson had both gotten technical fouls after a heated exchange between the two in the first quarter. Crowder knocked into Thompson, attempting to bait the charge. However, Thompson got up and it seemed like they talked a little bit back and forth, enough to where the officials felt it needed a tech for both of them. Thompson would say the first tech was just competitive jawing, nothing negative. Just got a tech for being former teammates. Guess you can't talk to your former teammates anymore. Thompson and Crowder had been teammates in the Cavs in the 2017-2018 season before Crowder was traded to the Utah Jazz, and then would eventually end up with the Grizzlies. Toward the end of the third quarter, Thompson was up for a free throw, and after switching the first, Crowder passed by Thompson to reposition. When he was walking past, Thompson tapped him on the butt. The official conducting the free throw actually let the gesture slip, but the infamous Kevin Maurer, hawkishly spectating from the sidelines, didn't see it this way, and a tech was called on Thompson, and before he could even shoot his second free throw, he was ejected from the game. Kevin Maurer called the gesture a physical time, the slap of the backside of Jay Crowder. Crowder did not say one word during that incident, nor did he do anything unsportsmanlike that would have warranted his second technical foul. And when Thompson was asked to explain the incident, he said, "Former teammate of mine, so we got a history and it was just a little competitive spirit. They might have taken it the wrong way, probably because they forgot that. I don't know. We were teammates for like half the year, so I felt like playing anyone else, like if I was playing Kyrie Irving or something like that, same thing. They teched us." I'm definitely calling the Players Association to appeal that one, 1000%. With Tim Duncan usually being on the quieter side, he let his emotions go one night when he got into an unusual argument with a ref, which led to him being ejected. The Spurs were facing the Dallas Mavericks in the 2006-2007 NBA season when Duncan was given his first tech of the game with 2:20 left in the third quarter by arguing with ref Joey Crawford about an offensive foul. While the tech was being argued by fellow Spurs players and staff, it was nothing out of the ordinary, even by today's standards. Now with Duncan now on the bench just a minute following the first tech, Duncan received another tech after allegedly bad-mouthing Crawford, which then prompted his ejection. However, it was soon found out after that it was Crawford that instigated the exchange from the bench when he asked Duncan if he wanted to fight. Duncan responded with a smile, which then led to a second tech and then ejection. Justice was served, however. Crawford was cited for improper conduct and he was suspended indefinitely by the NBA Commissioner David Stern, who said, especially in light of the similar prior actions by this official, a significant suspension is warranted. Although Joey is consistently rated as one of our top referees, he must be held accountable for his actions on the floor, and we will have further discussions with him following the season to be sure that he understands his responsibilities. At the time, Crawford was on his 31st season with the NBA as an official, and he'd been a ref for over 2,000 regular season games. He'd responded to the actions taken against him by stating, "If my player doesn't think that was acceptable, I have a problem." This wasn't Crawford's first time in trouble with David Stern. In a 2003 Western Conference Finals game against none other than the Mavericks, Crawford called 4 technical fouls in the first 10 minutes. Except during this incident, he dished out ejections on coach Don Nielsen and assistant coach Del Harris. Stern warned Crawford after the incident, saying that if he repeated those actions, the consequences would be severe. And following that incident with Duncan, there was some poetic justice served as well. Crawford broke what would have been his 21st season in a row officiating a playoff series due to the suspension, and Duncan went on to win a ring that same season. The suspension was eventually lifted from Crawford, who retired in 2015. And in a 2012 interview with Crawford, he referred to the incident as a life-changing situation, stating, "The Duncan thing probably changed my life. It was just, you come to the realization that maybe the way you've been doing things is not the proper way, and you have to regroup, not only on the court, but off the court." I'd seen a sports psychologist before that, but after, I saw him a lot more. It gave me a new perspective. Tracy McGrady being known for staying under the radar when it comes to controversy or any altercations, he let his feet do the talking one night and it got him thrown out of the game. In a 2003-2004 regular season game where the Denver Nuggets were playing against McGrady's Orlando Magic, we learned that McGrady could have also had a career in football when he punted the ball into the crowd, not once, but twice. Now you think McGrady should have been in a good mood, as earlier in the game at just 24 years old, he reached the 10,000 point milestone, making him the second NBA player to do so since his longtime friend of Kobe Bryant. With the game at 56-57 favoring the Nuggets, Tracy was able to start a fast break following a steal from Carmelo Anthony as he rushed the ball up the court. But McGrady's layup was blocked by Denver's Chris Anderson, and McGrady argued to the refs that there should have been a goaltending call. And when he kept pushing, he was called for a technical foul. Now irritated with the call, McGrady walked from the ref and punted the ball into the Orlando crowd. As he continued to walk away from teammates trying to cool down, the same ball is thrown from the fans back into McGrady's view. This gave him the opportunity to break free from a fellow teammate and punt the ball one last time in front of a huddle of officials, who then proceeded to punt him out of the game. McGrady would later claim that his actions were to get his team riled up when he said, "I could care less about 10,000 points. I was frustrated. So I had to get us going some way. 10,000, that's a lot of money. I have to get myself another autograph sign Having led the NBA in technical fouls 3 times throughout his career, his reputation looks as though it's come to haunt him. During the 2018-2019 regular season, DeMarcus Cousins managed to get himself ejected while on the bench. He had just been traded to Golden State from the Pelicans, but he'd been yet to play an official game with the team due to his Achilles injury. Ironically, the second ejection he received counted as DeMarcus' first stats with the Warriors. The 4-time All-Star was sitting out watching a game against the New York Knicks, where after speaking to fellow teammate Draymond Green, he was ejected. Apparently, a few hours prior to the game, DeMarcus was working out with his cancer when an argument broke out. As some NBA officials had witnessed the beef and told refs when the game started to keep an eye out for DeMarcus and cancer. Fast forward to the first quarter, an NBA referee Scott Fisher overheard DeMarcus talking to Draymond about cancer. And when Scott told Draymond to drop it, DeMarcus argued with the veteran ref, which then prompted a tech, followed by an ejection. Draymond was interviewed following the game, but refused to comment regarding the ejection, stating, "It ain't really my business." Coach Kerr was also interviewed, and he said he kept going to Scott. "I guess I'll talk to him about it. I gotta hear from DeMarcus what happened, and we'll talk it out." Scott Fisher had been the subject of many controversial game ejections by multiple NBA players, and Paul Pierce had his own words about the ref when he said, "Every referee has their own personality. He's just not the one you mess with. It shouldn't be like that because when you look at it, it's stars, Harden, DeRozan, Chris Paul that he's getting into it with. You gotta be able to listen to players and have that relationship." I don't feel like Scott has that relationship amongst the superstars in the league. It's hard for me to say something to him because it's like, I know that Scott's gonna have a quick trigger with the technical. So if you're gonna say something, you gotta keep it short and keep it moving. Because if you sit there and elaborate on a call, you're gonna get a technical. They'll throw you out like we've seen, but the players know this. With Vince Carter going down in the history books as a legend playing in 4 separate decades for many teams, he was bound to run into some controversy at some point. But during a matchup between the Raptors and the Nets in the 2005-2006 season, Morris Peterson had picked up a technical foul in the first half for arguing a no call at the ref. More than a minute had passed by when Vince approached Peterson on a dead ball and slapped him across the face in a friendly way. The old friend of Vince would pay back the favor by lightly slapping Vince's bald head, but suddenly the ref called a second and final technical on Peterson, kicking him out of the game. The official had missed Vince slapping Peterson first, and as a result, the only one kicked off the court was Peterson. Peterson stomped off the court in a rage as he ripped off his jersey and threw it into the crowd. Vince, on the other hand, just smiled nervously and continued the game. To Vince's credit, he did approach the official to explain that it was harmless and they were just good friends, but the call would not be overturned and Peterson was ejected. Peterson would explain that this was typical Vince, saying, during different times of the game, Vince might try to horseplay around. It's unfortunate what happened. It wasn't anything while we were fighting or anything out there on the court. Continuing the game, Vince went off against his former teammates, scoring 42 points and even drilling a game-winning 3 that brought the Nets to a 105-104 victory over the Raptors. After the game, Vince said, "I don't know what to say about that. Mo, Pete, and I are always having a good time. Mr. JV, I guess he turned and saw it at the wrong time and felt like Peterson had punched me in the face or whatever." Then afterwards, JV said it wasn't as bad as he thought. With Rasheed Wallace being known for playing very physical basketball, it's only a matter of time before he got ejected for doing something over the top. Rasheed's 29 career ejections and 373 technical fouls are proof of how physical he played during his time in the NBA, and he holds the record with that stat. Rasheed often said that he played hard to put on a show for the fans. And he also said, "It's not about money for me, it's about the Hall of Fame for me. It's about winning championships, going to the championship, and just being the best player I can be. I know the media didn't like me. I was always misconstrued. I'm a hothead. Yeah, I'm gonna get some texts, but I ain't gonna mess it up enough to the point where it's a big game and I'm gonna get thrown out." He eventually ate those words, because that's exactly what happened during the 2000 NBA playoffs, when Rasheed's Portland Trail Blazers were up against the Lakers in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Throughout the game, it seemed as though he had a personal vendetta against all the officials. Starting off, Rasheed had picked up his 3rd foul of the game while contesting a layup after he hip-checked someone. Storming off the court to sit down, Rasheed mocked official Ron Garrison by reenacting the hip-check, following by a hand swipe to Ron. Ignoring this, Ron allowed Rasheed to continue without a warning. Now, being given some mercy, you'd think Rasheed would have cleaned up his act, but literally right after that incident, Rasheed continued to yell from the bench. Ron Garrison, who at this point was fired up, dished out Rasheed's favorite stat and gave Rasheed his first tech of the game. Fast forward a bit, and Rasheed got a pass from the 3-point line and dunked the ball after losing it and stealing it back. Following his hustle play, he stared down another official awkwardly. Rasheed, who in the moment couldn't seem to stop talking to the official, who again has given him mercy, calls it a layup game instead of dropping the second tech on him. Not too long after, Rasheed's back at it again with the death stares. Only this time, he got his eyes fixed on Ron Garrison, who wasn't about to take any attitude, and he ejects him from the game. Fellow teammate of his approached Ron saying he didn't say anything, but what has he done? Ron initially ignored him and finally provided a side, saying, "I asked him 3 times to stop staring at me to try and intimidate me. I'm done. He's gone." With LeBron James being known as one of the best players in the league for over a decade, one of his most unreal stats is how often he stayed out of trouble. And with that being said, it comes as a surprise to hear that LeBron got so heated that he was ejected. In 2017, when LeBron was on the Cavaliers playing against the Heat in Cleveland, the Cavs were up 93-70 when LeBron began arguing with the refs about a no call late in the 3rd quarter. LeBron drove to the basket and felt like he was fouled, so he began arguing with ref Kane Fitzgerald, who handed James a technical foul immediately. LeBron wasn't taking no for an answer and he kept John back at the ref until Fitzgerald threw him out, which got the Cleveland Cleveland crowd fired up, considering this was LeBron's first and only ejection in his career. After the game, LeBron spoke about the ejection saying, "I got fouled and showed my frustration to the ref, and he sent me to the locker room. That particular play, I got fouled all the way up the court. That's what it was about. I said what I had to say and I moved on, but he decided I should get ejected. We got the win, that's what's most important." Kane Fitzgerald also spoke about the situation to reporters after the game saying, "Immediately after the no call, he turned and threw an air punch directly at me. Then he aggressively charged at me and he used vulgarity in my ears a few times." Hey, yo dog, have you ever had chapped lips? Huh? Your lips ever chapped? Well, if you don't click on this video right here, dog, your lips are gonna be chapped forever. That's just how your life is gonna be for the rest of time because you decided not to click on this video. Is that really how you wanna live your life? With chapped lips forever? I don't think so, dude.